it's Girl in the Verse here. I am at the Genzio Media House during Token2049 in Dubai. I am joined by James from Neuron. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to see you again.
Well, thanks for having me. Really excited to see you.
So let's talk about Neuron. For those who have no clue what Neuron is, why don't you give us a bit of a TLDR?
Yeah, sure. So Neuron connects machines to machines to do commerce with each other. And really our first sort of target at the moment is unlocking premium data. AI needs access to premium data because at the moment it's only got access to free data, and integrations with premium data is really complicated. So we make that whole process seamless. AI agents can now access data universally across all different paywall channels. And then they can go and use that to analyze and to make decisions in the real world.
So is this like agent to agent who are communicating with each other?
It's like data to agent. So really our first sort of focus is on connecting premium data into AI agents and software applications because these still exist in today's world. But we will then move on to what we call sort of the comprehension stage, which is agent to agent, and then the action stage, which is an agent to real world. And that involves some cool robots and things like that.
Okay, this is very it also sounds very futuristic. We're in Dubai. I'm also thinking, should we have like driverless cars already? Like, are we there? Like you're talking about robots and...
Exactly. Well, they already exist. And robots take many forms. Like we already see drones like flying around. People like Wingbits are doing some crazy things with like drones and tracking aircraft in the sky. We're seeing ground robots delivering your goods out there in the real world. And we're seeing autonomous vehicles. Like if you go to California, you can already use autonomous vehicles and things out there already. So this isn't a future thing. This is happening now. And what we're also seeing with the rise of AI, how does AI connect into all of these different platforms to actually do real world things?
Don't you think like government should be involved in this? Like should governments be a part of this whole like private data or...
Well, governments are generally not very good at doing most things. So I usually say try and avoid government interference as much as possible. What they are good at is protecting the public. They're there really to ensure that the public stays safe, to govern, which is in the name really. So they're really there to try and ensure people stay safe and ensure people follow the rules. And so I think that's really their role. But ultimately, they can also be a great customer. So, government have lots of applications where they want to use AI, use robots, and get access to data. So they're a great customer for a lot of these applications as well.
So you wouldn't want to give your company to governments?
No, I think that's a little bit risky.
Okay. So let's also talk about AI. Obviously, it's a big buzzword, AI. How does that connect with Neuron, and where do you see AI?
Yeah, well, businesses at the moment, really, they're facing an existential crisis. If they don't adopt AI and reasoning models, they're gone in 5 years' time. What we're seeing is software applications now being built by AI. We're seeing images, videos, and everything is all being built by AI. So we need to start adopting it. Businesses have to adopt it. And so really, how do we give AI perception of the real world? How do we let it see what's around itself and make decisions that will help enable these applications? And really, this is what we're trying to unlock. At the moment, if you want to enable premium data, so stuff behind a paywall, you have to go out to the software developers, get an API key, you have to go and sign a contract, you have to set up a payment account. Well, AI systems don't have access to that. Only humans do. So how do we enable AI agents to actually access this premium data without all of these barriers to entry in the way? And we've basically solved that problem.
So how would that work?
So
maybe give us an example, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So the process really is like a 4-step process. So we have an explorer that allows AI agents to discover data sources that are out there in the real world. And that could be anything from like a server level all the way down to a small machine like a sensor or even a small robot. And then once it's then discovered that, it can then connect to it in a peer-to-peer manner. So this is the element of blockchain, really. Blockchain is about peer-to-peer. And so we see a lot of systems where it's actually quite centralized. So we've actually developed a system that enables an AI agent to peer-to-peer communicate with that device, extract the data from it, and then pay it for the services that it's provided. And that's all protected by our protect function, which is basically our validator network, which ensures that payments clear to service providers once the service has been delivered, or refunds if it's not delivered on time.
Why do you think what you're creating is important? Like, what's the issue right now in the current state of private data?
So at the moment, really, AI agents can't access it.
Mm,
That's a big problem for AI because if you look at all of the data that's out there in the real world, the valuable stuff is behind a paywall. So it's currently operating off scraping web pages.
like Google, basically. ChatGPT is using Google.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So this kind of data, it's not sort of real time, it's not detailed, it's not accurate. And so really what happens if you don't use premium data, you end up with wrong decisions being made. Well, at the moment, you've got humans controlling AI, but in the future, this is going to become more and more automated, and you're going to get AI systems controlling other AI systems and these sort of multi-agent systems happening. And in that world, we want the best quality data that we can. And so what we came up with was a way to connect straight to the source. Like a journalist, if you are wanting the truth, you go to source. You don't go through an intermediary to go and get that data, because you might end up with sort of whispers game going on, and you might not actually end up with the truth. And so it's really important that AI systems connect directly to source to get the data from the source.
What do you say to people who are like, I don't want to use AI? I want to keep my humans. I want them to control everything. Do you
Yeah.
think it's just not realistic, or?
So I think it's inevitable. Like, I think it's going to happen whether people like it or not. I think where the debate is about how much and where humans actually have control. So you may want a system where a human oversees the system, and leading to greater levels of autonomy. This is being talked about within the drone industry for years. Is what levels of autonomy do you have? And you have sort of automatic control where the human is still overseeing the operation, and then you start handing over more and more responsibility to the system to actually do those tasks. Same as with driverless cars. Think about the person behind the steering wheel. Initially, they're pretty much driving all the time, and they maybe change lanes, and then it like takes over and starts driving itself, but with a human in front of it. And now we're moving to a stage where the human doesn't even have to be in the driving seat anymore. So you're going to see a gradual increase in automation.
Do you also think it's like safer? Because like typically, right, humans make mistakes, but
Yeah.
the robot may not.
Yeah, well, I actually did some interesting work
Okay.
all the way back when I was at university, which was about verification of AI systems. If you've got an AI system, ultimately it's really hard to prove that it's going to be safe in a deterministic way, because they're not deterministic machines. They may change from one day to the next what they do. So how do you ensure that something's safe in that kind of situation? Well, you do that through performance testing. And so you actually use it in the real world. And so this levels of automation, which we were just speaking about, is actually really important, because ultimately what you're doing is building confidence in the system and the safety of the system as you rise up towards full automation. And so this is how the verification of these systems and the safety of those systems is proven.
So where are you at with Neuron? What's next, or what's to come? What brings you to Dubai?
Well, Token2049 is
course.
going on. Not that we're actually going to the main events. We're pretty much hustling all the side events. But yeah, we've been on testnet for 12 months. So we've validated our model. We've done that with the flight application, and we've integrated that into some airports and some big aerospace OEMs, which is really hard to do. Ultimately, airports
Yeah,
are
how does that
regulated.
work? Let's talk about the airports.
Yeah, so airports, basically they want to see what aircraft are around them. And traditionally they've had $10 million radars systems to do that. But smaller airports can't afford a $10 million radar. They might not even make that in revenue each year. So how do you actually track aircraft? And there's digital ways to do that now. And so they install these flight tracking sensors around the airport, and then they connect those sensors directly into the airport. They don't like cloud systems. Airports hate pushing stuff to the cloud because they don't know where it's coming from. They don't know if the service is going to remain available. So it's an on-prem solution where they can connect their flight information display, which tracks all of the aircraft and connects all of the data into it. And this is being used for a drone delivery application. So one of our customers, Land's End, is doing flights over to the Isles of Scilly with the National Health Service and with Royal Mail. And they want to set up a route to go backwards and forwards from the islands. And so we've helped them through Neuron connect this sensor network into their airport to enable that to happen.
And so far, it's working well.
Yeah, it's great. Like we've had like unresounding applause from the airport. They've said, look, this is definitely the future. This is exactly how we need it, and they're telling their friends about it now. So airports tend to talk to each other. So it's really good. We're getting now interest from St Mary's Airport, Penzance Heliport, and all of the others in the region now, and so we're going to start growing outwards from there. And so really now we're looking for other sensor providers who can then connect their sensors into the network to provide that service to them. So integrating the likes of Wingbits and GeoDnets and weather applications as well, because ultimately there's all sorts of other types of data that these people need. And then when we start integrating AI systems into that, they can basically become the kind of supervisor for these air traffic controllers. So as we talked about those levels of automation, ultimately those AI systems will be saying, there may be a problem over there. So you saw what happened in the US recently with the helicopter crash.
Yes.
Like this shouldn't be happening nowadays.
No.
The data's there. The people are there, but the people just aren't aware of the data that is causing the conflict. So if we can go and connect AI systems into that passage, then they can actually provide alerts to the humans to say that there's a problem over there, you need to deal with it.
And I think what's interesting there is that you're not necessarily removing the human. We still want someone who's looking at stuff, but we need automation.
Exactly, and it's always that pathway to automation, or pathway to autonomy, really. So, at first step, you have it monitoring and alerting. The next stage, you might have it acting, and then you can cancel the action if it does it wrong. And then you slowly build up towards where actually it's just fully automated, and you don't need a human. You might have one human overseeing, 20 airports rather than having, 20 people in one airport.
That's huge.
Exactly. And this is what AI is going to do for us. AI is going to create a world of abundance for humanity. Ultimately, I think in 10 years' time, possibly, that we will get to a point where people will choose to work. We won't have to work.
Wow.
And I think that's going to be huge. And robots is a big part of that, because ultimately, if we can't, AI systems can only provide data, but if we can connect robots into these systems as well, now we can take action in the real world. So, all of these skyscrapers you see behind us being built, like this isn't going to be humans building these in the future. This is going to be robots building them. They're going to be delivering our packages for us. They're going to be producing our food for us. And I think it's a lot closer than people realize.
That's incredible. Okay, well, tell us what's next for Neuron, and then where can we learn more?
Yeah, so what we've now been doing is working with other DeepIns. So we've worked with Roam Network, which is, they provide mobile cellular data, which basically tells you coverage of cellular data, which is actually really important for robots as well. They need to be able to be connected. So having this like real-time view of where there is coverage and where there isn't is really important. We're also doing an integration with SkyX, who are a weather DeepIn, and they're connecting in weather sensors into this network now. So we can access data, and AI agents can access that data. And then we're currently doing a hackathon actually with Hedera. So Hedera have got their HCS10 Open Conv AI, I think it is. That basically is a hackathon going on the Hedera ecosystem. So there's loads of builders now building AI agents, and what we're going to do is connect these data sources into that framework so that people can build AI agents that are for all sorts of different use cases, whether it's environmental use cases, whether it's sort of mobility and transport, or even energy sort of applications. There's a whole range of different applications that AI agents can be built, and then they can start being connected together.
Wow. So where can people learn more, and how can they participate and help Neuron grow?
Yeah, so we've got our new website, which was literally just launched yesterday. So well done, Gideon. That's www.neuron.world. So you can find more information on there. You can always join our Discord as well. So that's on our website. And you can come to visit us. So we're going to be in Dubai all week. We're actually at DeepIn Day tomorrow.
Awesome.
So that's where we're going to be presenting to the audience and hopefully receiving some good feedback. And yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, just go through our website or through our Discord channel, and we'd be really pleased to speak to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James.
Thank you very much.
Hey, what's up?
This is
But
Zach.
it's not something Gentio is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a
How
hive.
many know we do not understand that we do not want to have? Ladies and gentlemen,
We're back at the Gentio Media House.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today.